All right, we are on the set right now at Clay's studio. Clay comes to Gateway, and he's been coming for quite a few years, and he is going to attempt to show me how to make a clay pot. Now, his name is Clay, so there's no pun intended there, but there's Clay works with a lot of different, he's a sculptor, a lot of different professionals in this type of line of work and so on. And so, and also, he knows the art of making clay pottery. And there's a lot that goes in it, isn't it, Clay, of what a potter needs to know. So,
Yeah, it's not something that anybody can just pick up and do. There's a lot to it. I mean, it looks easy, but when you really get down to it, there's a lot involved with it. Yeah.
so the first thing you're probably gonna show me is what now?
Basically, what I'm going to show you is how to prep the clay and then how to get it on the wheel. And then I'm just going to let you take off from there, and then I'll show you what to do and what not to do.
You think I'm gonna make a mess out of it? Or?
Well, some people can take to it really quick. Some people, not so quick.
Now, again, we want to let you know we have not practiced this at all.
Not. No.
And so who knows what we're going to get. I could make a total mess out of your studio.
You could make a masterpiece.
Oh, yeah, or I can make a masterpiece. Yep. But so we'll see what happens. Let's go for it.
Okay.
Okay, what do we got here?
Now, basically, this is the raw clay that it comes in packages like this. It comes from a bunch of different sources. Actually, they get it from virgin lake beds, too, and that's some of the best clay you can get to create these kind of things, too.
Oh, cool.
So, what we're going to do is we're going to take a chunk of this off, and we're going to prep it to go on the wheel, and then we're just going to start spinning. Then you take, it's basically like a rope, cut a wire, and then you just go ahead and pull that right on through, and that'll just cut off a chunk of wire there, or that'll
Is that
cut
good?
off a chunk. Here, just pull it through. There you go. Now just take that slab of clay right off of there and form like a little triangle out of it, a little pyramid basically. Just go ahead and push it together, mush it together. Get it really tight in the center so there's no voids on it and everything. Kind of make a little dome out of it. That's what you want. That's what you're looking to do.
Okay.
And now you slam it down onto that wheel. Try to get it centered. Okay, your hands are going to be about right here, and you kind of want to get because otherwise you'll see. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to wet your hand a little bit. Right here, here's your water. Just wet your hand, kind of get the clay a little wet. There you go. Now you got your little foot pedal. Now go ahead and push it slow. Hold it down here and try to get it centered. Okay, now put your hands straight up and down. And see, you got to balance them there because otherwise you're going to be all over the place. And try to get that thing centered. Keep your hands straight. Kind of cover over the top of it. Get it, dome it over. There you go. But see, you're not getting straight on there. You got to be perfectly centered. Okay, when you feel like it's pretty good centered, then we're going to start actually creating the pot.
Okay, I feel like it. Yep.
It's pretty close. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to actually start with your two fingers. You kind of lock them together like this. Lock your fingers together and come in with this hand, with these fingers on the top, and start creating a hole inside there. Okay, and then come up with your thumb and your fingers like this and start creating the sidewall.
The hardest thing about this is keeping it in the center.
Very much.
Man,
very
it's
much.
Very, very tough to keep it centered. And it's amazing how one little small movement of the hand forms it so different, and
Correct.
it could almost mess it up.
Yep. See, you're getting a nice shape there going. The thing that you have now is your walls are too thick on it, so you have to try to thin your walls down a little bit.
Now, does it so much deter? Is it the wheel going fast enough right now?
It's whatever you're comfortable with. I mean, that wheel will really crank, but the faster you go, the more pressure and the more control you have to have on it.
Man.
Now you want to start cleaning the outside edge up there a little bit. Get your hands wet. Now what you're going to do is you're going to run it very slowly, and you're going to stick this down underneath there. Just very easy. It'll go into maybe half an inch deep, quarter-inch deep, something like that. And that'll give us a little groove so we can pull the wire across on it.
Okay.
Okay, so just run it real slow. Okay, now what you're going to do is wrap your fingers around this and put it down flat, and then just pull this across as you slowly rotate the wheel. Okay, and then you slide it across. Okay, that's it. Now, when you pick it up off of there, you cup your hands on there, give it a little twist. There you go. Now slide it off, and we'll just set it up on the workbench.
Woohoo! My first pot. Clay pot. You know, it took me about 5 minutes to do what you just did, and you did it so quick. It's amazing when you know what you're doing.
Well, you have to know exactly what you're doing to be able to apply pressure in the right places. So, okay, that was centered. Now let me show you just what happens when you get just a little bit off center.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to use one hand on it, and we're going to go a little bit off center. So what you got to do now is you actually start all over again.
You know, you just had something that was looking so promising, so beautiful, and then in one split second it can just totally be ruined. And that's why it's so important to stay in the center and to let the potter mold you exactly the way he wants you. In Jeremiah chapter 18, God spoke to this prophet named Jeremiah. And he said, Jeremiah, go down to the potter's house, and there I will give you my message. So Jeremiah went down to the potter's house, and the potter, the Bible says that the potter, he was really cranking like this. Well, I got electricity here. You know, getting the wheel going. And he was forming his clay and making this pot on the wheel, and he was just making this beautiful jar, and everything was going good. And all of a sudden, he messed up, like you saw your pastor mess up, and there was the clay was marred, it was scarred, and so he applied some water, and he squished it back down, and he started shaping that clay back into what he was imagining, a jar, some kind of a pot. And the Bible says that at that point, God started to speak to Jeremiah. And he started telling Jeremiah that that potter is like me. That it's so important, as you notice, when Clay was saying, and Clay was forming the pot, he was saying, you gotta stay in the center. And he was starting to talk about how the children of Israel were not in the center. How they were going off the wheel, going off God's wheel. They were trying to get on their own wheel of life, and they were off center. And God could not put his blessing on the children of Israel. And God desperately, desperately wanted to bring his hands a blessing, to be the potter, to form every one of the Israelites, his children. He desperately wanted to form them. But he started telling the prophet Jeremiah, they're off-centered. They don't understand. They're just clay. I'm the potter. I want to bless their lives. I want to anoint them. I want to bring my hands and of protection about them, but they're not allowing me to do that because they're off center.